Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in every life when the soul cries out, not for comfort, not for applause, but for victory. A holy kind of success, a triumph that echoes in eternity, not just headlines or hashtags. But hear me now, you will never rise until your desire to succeed becomes stronger than your fear to fail. That flame inside you, it must burn brighter than the voices around you. Success does not come to the lazy, it does not come to the distracted, it comes to the one who chooses discipline when everyone else chooses distraction. When your friends are scrolling, you're building. When they sleep, you study. When they doubt, you pray and press on. Let me tell you something, there will be silence. There will be days you see nothing, days you hear nothing, but faith, real faith, keeps walking when the road disappears. You must learn to trust even when you cannot trace the outcome. You must believe before the breakthrough. And yes, there will be pain, but pain is not your prison, it's your preparation. The fire that tries you is the same fire that purifies gold. Every hardship you face, every tear you cried, it's working something in you. Don't run from the pain, learn from it, grow from it. But let me warn you, success without purpose is still failure. Don't chase fortune and forget your why. Your destiny is not in the dollars, it's in the difference you make, the lives you touch, the legacy you leave. And above all, serve first. Serve when no one sees you. Serve when no one thanks you. For in due time, the one who humbles himself shall be lifted. The one who gives will receive. The one who lays down his pride will rise up with power. So I ask you today, when you want to succeed, how do you want to succeed? How deep is your desire? How loud is your faith? How strong is your purpose? Because success isn't for the faint of heart, it's for the one who chooses to walk in the fire and come out refined. There comes a time in a person's journey where the weight of the dream presses so heavily on the chest that it becomes harder to sleep than it does to work, harder to sit still than to strive forward, because when the desire is real, when the vision takes root deep down in the marrow of who you are, no doubt, no delay, no discouragement can choke it out, for the fire burns hotter than the fear. The pull forward is stronger than the push back, and you find yourself moving, not because of what's in front of you, but because of what's inside of you. Something sacred, something unstoppable, something born not in applause or attention, but in the quiet conviction that you have made for more and you must go on. You must rise even if your legs shake and the light is dim and the noise around you screams to stop, because desire, when it is pure and unrelenting, does not bow to the shadows of doubt. And oh, how loud doubt can be! It comes dressed as reason, as logic, as practicality. It whispers in moments of stillness and screams in moments of struggle. It wears familiar faces and well-meaning voices. It says things like, be realistic and know your limits. But what it really wants is for you to trade your destiny for comfort, your calling for convenience, your promise for predictability, and if you give it space, if you let it settle, it will build walls around your passion and convince you they were always there. But desire, yield desire. Holy desire does not settle, does not shrink, does not ask permission. It breaks walls, shakes ceilings, and dares to believe that the impossible is only impossible until someone makes it real. And you see, it's not that doubt disappears. No, doubt lingers, it hangs in the corners, it waits for the weak moment, but desire, when it is greater, becomes your compass, your anchor, your storm fighting, giant facing, fire walking, resolve that even when you're unsure, even when you're tired, even when you don't know the how, you still move forward, not because you have all the answers, but because you refuse to live a life ruled by questions. You'd rather die climbing than live doubting, you'd rather fall in faith than sit in fear. Because the pain of trying and falling is nothing compared to the regret of never leaping it. And every person who's ever done something mighty, something lasting, something worth remembering, they didn't do it. Because doubt was absent, they did it. Because desire was greater. Because the picture in their soul was too big to stay small, too loud to stay silent, too wild to stay silent, too wild to stay… And even when the world laughed, even when the odds towered like mountains, they walked on, they pushed on, not with the strength of the flesh, but with the fire of belief. And they didn't always feel brave, but they were brave because they kept going, they kept climbing, they kept building when the ground was shaking and the sky was dark. And you, yes you are not called to be ruled by doubt, not wired for fear, not designed for defeat. There is something within you that knows, something that remembers, something that aches to be awakened. And though life has tried to bury, though time and pain and failure have tried to silence it, it still stirs, still glows, it still whispers in the midnight hour that you are more than what happened to you are more than what they said about you are more than what you lost. And if you will feed that desire, if you will starve that doubt, If you will choose to trust the dream even when you can't trace the steps, you will find that the ground will rise to meet your feet and heaven will send the strength you need. And sometimes all it takes is a decision, not a dramatic moment, not a lightning bolt revelation, but a quiet, steady, relentless decision that you will not less decision, that you will not give doubt a final word, that you will move forward, even with the questions. Do it unsure. Do it stumbling if you must, but do it, because action waters desire and starves doubt. And when your feet move, even if trembling, something begins to shift. The fog begins to lift, the fire begins to spread, and suddenly you're not just dreaming, you're becoming, you're rising. You're stepping into the thing you once only saw in glimpses. And I tell you now, not as one who is far from struggle, but as one who has faced it too. That desire is not weak, desire is not naive, desire is divine when it comes from a place of truth and purpose, and when it is honored, when it is protected, when it is pursued. It becomes a force that no storm can drown and no failure can erase. And you begin to live not by the volume of your doubt, but by the velocity of your hope. And you discover that the greatest victories come not to the perfect, but to the persistent, not to the certain, but to the committed. And the ones who succeed are simply the ones who refuse to quit when quitting was easy. So let it be known today and etched on your heart like fire on stone, that if you want to see the promise fulfilled, the mountain moved, the vision made real, then desire, your deep, holy, burning desire, must be greater than your doubt. There is a war for your focus, a daily battle that does not take rest and does not ask for permission for every dream that has ever died. Every calling that has ever faded, every vision that turned to dust, did not fall because of lack of talent or opportunity, but because of 1,000 tiny distractions that came dressed as comfort, as pleasure, as a just for a moment. And by the time you realize the time is gone, the edge is dull, the fire is low, and all that's left is the ache of what could have been if only the discipline had been louder than the noise, if only the purpose had been stronger than the pull of ease. And the truth that many don't want to hear is this: greatness is boring, discipline is quiet. Success is forged in ordinary days when nobody claps and nobody sees. It's forged in the moments where you choose to show up when quitting would be easier. When you choose to stay the course, when distraction calls your name in 10,000 shiny ways, pulling at your mind with notifications and cravings and the lie that you'll get to it later. But there is no later, there is only now. And the now you waste becomes the future you regret. For every minute given to distraction is a seed sown into disappointment. And every minute spent in discipline is a brick laid on the path of destiny. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not entertain the masses, it does not offer quick results or cheap thrills, but it offers something far greater. Becoming is slow and painful and full of repetition that feels invisible. But it's in that invisible place where the real power is made, where champions are carved, where the quiet choices you make become the loud life you live. Because discipline builds character. When no one is watching and prepares you for moments that haven't arrived yet, but are coming, they are coming. Bharat, and they will only be yours if you are ready when they knock. Distraction is clever, it doesn't need to destroy you to defeat you, it only needs to delay you, to keep you busy chasing things that do not build you. And if you aren't intentional, if you don't wake up with fire in your eyes and focus in your hands, you will give your energy to things that never return it. You'll scroll through moments that could have been breakthroughs, you'll laugh away time that could have been invested, you'll sleep through the season that was meant to stretch you, and all the while the life you could have lived drifts further from your grasp, not because you weren't called, but because you weren't committed. Discipline is a resistance to the world's demand for your attention. Saying no when everything in you wants to say yes. It's choosing the harder path because you've seen the vision and you've tasted the promise and you know deep in your bones that you were not born to be average. You were not born to be distracted, you were not born to waste your time chasing temporary highs when eternal purpose is calling, and it is calling louder than ever. But it won't beg you. It waits for you to rise, to act, to shut out the noise, to sacrifice the short-term comfort for long-term greatness. That's not easy, but it's worth it, it's always worth it. Because the ones who make it, the ones who stand at the finish line, and don't just talk about success but live it. They're not the most gifted, not the most lucky, not the ones who were handed shortcuts or silver spoon, but the ones who got up early, who stayed up late, who said no to parties and yes to preparation, who chose to do the work nobody wanted so they could live the life everybody dreams about. And they were tempted too, they were tired too, they had distractions too, but they chose discipline anyway. And that choice became their foundation, their weapon. Oh, and you? If you want to be more than a consumer of success stories and become one yourself, you want to rise to the level you were born for and not just talk about potential but walk in it, you must decide that nothing, not your phone, not your fatigue, not your fear, not your comfort will have more power over you than your purpose. That every time distraction calls, you will answer with focus. Every time the urge to drift comes, you will double down. And though the results may be slow, they will be sure. For discipline never lies, it always produces even when you don't see it yet. So plant your feet, fix your eyes, shut the doors to lesser things and build your life, not on what feels good in the moment, but what will still matter in the morning. For in the end, it will not be how loud you dreamed, but how long you endured, not how much you wanted it, but how much you worked for it. And the path you take will either be paved with excuses or with excellence. And that path is chosen not by wish or will alone, but by one daily decision repeated over and over and over again, discipline over distraction. There is a kind of strength that does not come from sight or sound or certainty, a kind of courage that rises, not because it knows the outcome, but because it knows the calling. And it's this faith, this unshakable, invisible, immovable faith that dares to take the first step when the road isn't built, that speaks when no one is listening, that builds when the plans aren't finished, because there is something in the soul that whispers louder than the storm, something divine that says, keep going. Even when the eyes see nothing, the hands feel nothing, the ears hear nothing, and yet the heart knows, deep down, it knows that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't real. Faith in the unseen is not a soft faith, not a delicate hope that trembles at resistance. It is a warrior's faith, a gritty, bloody, knuckled, hair-stained faith that holds the line when every voice says, let go, that believes in the promise before there's proof, that plants seeds in a field. It hasn't yet walked and waters them with sweat and trust because it knows that every great thing that ever lived started in silence, in mystery, in darkness, and the ones who saw it through were not the ones who always knew, they were the ones who always believed, who refused to let the lack of visibility become the death of their vision. And the truth is, we live in a world addicted to evidence, addicted to instant, to visible, to measurable, and yet everything eternal, everything truly transformative starts hidden, starts small, starts quiet, starts in a space where no one claps and no one watches. And the only thing holding you together is the still small voice that keeps saying, there's more. And when that voice becomes your anchor, your compass, your heartbeat, you find yourself moving not because of what's in front of you, but because of what's been placed inside you. Because real faith walks when there are no signs. Real faith speaks when there is no echo. Real faith builds when there is no applause. And yes, there will be moments when doubt stands taller than hope. Fear screams louder than trust, when everything inside you wants to retreat back into comfort, back into the safety of sight. Faith was never meant to live in the realm of comfort. Faith was forged for the fire. It was built to carry you through deserts and valleys and storms that don't answer to your timeline. Because faith knows that the God who promised is greater than the circumstances that challenge. And when you believe that, not with your lips but with your life, then nothing, nothing can stop you. Faith in the unseen will separate you. It will set you apart because most people need to see it first, need to feel it first, need to measure it first. But you're not most people. You are called to walk where others hesitate, to speak life where others speak logic, to rise when others sit, to stay steady when others quit, because the calling on your life is not casual and the purpose in your chest is not cheap. It costs too much to doubt now, it costs too much to back down now. So you lift your head, square your shoulders, and trust not in what you see but in who you are. In who sent you, in what is coming even if it's not here yet. And sometimes that means walking for miles with no miracle, standing for years with no sign, hoping against hope with nothing but a word. But faith doesn't flinch at the passage of time. Faith doesn't surrender to silence, because faith understands that delay is not denial. That absence is not abandonment, that just because the door hasn't opened doesn't mean the building isn't being prepared. And you hold on, not out of desperation, but out of conviction, because you know in your spirit that what is unseen today will be undeniable tomorrow if you do not quit. Faith in the unseen is not blind. It sees deeper, sees further, sees what others are too distracted or too afraid to look for. It sees through the fog of doubt, through the smoke of failure, through the walls of impossibility, and it says, still, I'm… And it's that kind of belief that builds legacies, that raises leaders, that births movements, that changes not just lives but generations. Because when one person refuses to let go of the unseen, they make a way for others to follow. They light a path where there was once only darkness. And they show the world that vision is not about eyesight, it's about heart, about obedience, about trust. So if you are standing in the silence, walking in the unknown, carrying a dream that no one else understands and few even see, do not despair. Do not stop, do not shrink back, for this is a sacred place, the holy ground where true faith lives. And though it may not make sense now, though it may feel like you're walking through shadows with nothing but a whisper to guide you, know this, faith in the unseen is not weakness, it is your greatest weapon. And if you will hold fast, press forward, keep trusting, keep building, keep believing, then what was once unseen will one day be undeniable. There are places in life where pain comes not as punishment but as preparation, where the weight you carry is not meant to crush you but to carve you, where the breaking is not the end but the beginning of becoming. And though every part of you wants to run from the storm, wants to retreat from the fire, wants to avoid the valley, something deeper, something eternal, calls you to stay, to stand, to fight because hardship is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It is the sacred ground where strength is born. It is the place where the shallow things die and the real you begins to rise. And we've been taught to fear the struggle, to avoid the ache, to curse the hard seasons. But what they never told you is that the pain you endure today is producing the power you'll need tomorrow. That the sleepless nights are stretching your spirit, that the silence is sharpening your soul, that the things you thought were setbacks were actually sacred training, and every time you wanted to quit but didn't, every time you cried but kept walking, every time you stumbled but got back up, you were becoming something stronger than you. Being forged in fire by a process you didn't choose but were chosen for, because no warrior is made on the battlefield, they are made in the shadows, in the seasons of obscurity, in the moments no one sees, when your hands are blistered, your faith is trembling, your prayers feel unanswered, but still you push, still you press, still you believe that this pain has a purpose. And though you may not see the reason, though you may not understand the weight, you trust that the one who is allowing it is also using it, shaping you into a vessel that can carry the calling, a soldier that can stand in the storm without flinching. And I know it hurts, I know it's hard, I know you cried tears. You never thought you'd cry, walk through nights darker than you thought you could survive. But even in that place, even in the lowest valley, even when your heart feels shattered and your strength is gone, there is still a fire in your spirit that refuses to die. And that fire, that unexplainable refusal to give up, is proof that the hardship did not win, that the trial did not bury you, that something greater is alive within you, something that only grows in the dirt, in the dark, in the dark, in the dark. Hardship is the training ground where ego dies and endurance is born, where comfort is stripped away and conviction is made real, where everything that is fake falls off and only the true remains. And when you've been through enough storms, when you've walked through enough fire, when you've buried enough dreams only to see them resurrected, then and only then do you begin to understand the power of perseverance, the blessing in the burden, the beauty in the break. And you no longer curse the pressure because you realize it's producing something that no easy road ever could. You see, people want the crown but not the cross, the glory but not the grind, the platform but not the process. But the ones who endure the hardship, the ones who train in the shadows, the ones who bleed in private before they ever succeed in public, those are the ones who carry a different kind of authority, a weight to their words, a fire in their eyes, a steadiness in their walk that cannot be faked or fabricated. Because it was earned, it was fought for. It was forged in places most people run from, but they stayed, they suffered, they grew. And so if you're in the middle of it right now, if you're tired, if you're aching, if you're wondering if it's ever going to turn, let me tell you, it's working, it's training you, it's building things in you that comfort never could. It's giving you roots that will hold when others fall. It's giving you vision that sees beyond surface. It's giving you power that doesn't just shine, it sustains. And the longer you endure, the more you realize that you are never just surviving the hardship, you were being sculpted by it, strengthened by it, sanctified through it. So don't waste your pain, don't despise the struggle, don't curse the weight, because the hardship you face today is the training ground for the greatness you'll walk in tomorrow. And though it feels like breaking, it's really building, though it feels like delay, it's really development. Though it feels like loss, it's really preparation. And if you'll hold on, press on, trust through the tears, walk through the fire, you'll find that what was meant to destroy you was actually designed to deliver you. There comes a moment in every life where you must choose whether you will chase applause or assignment, whether you will build a platform or a purpose, whether you will run after things that look good or things that lust, and this world will tempt you every hour with the shine of prosperity. with the illusion of success, with the comforts of more. But what they never tell you is that prosperity without purpose is hollow, prosperity without foundation is fragile. Prosperity without soul is slavery dressed in golden if you trade your calling for convenience. Your mission for money, your truth for a throne, you will wake up one day with everything in your hands but nothing in your heart. Because purpose is not always profitable in the beginning, purpose does not come with promises of ease, it doesn't shout in boardrooms or trend on timelines. But purpose is what keeps you steady when the lights go off, when the crowd walks away, when the bank account looks empty and the dream looks delayed. And if you don't know why you started, you will quit when it gets hard, when it gets quiet, when it gets lonely. But if your purpose is deeper than your pride and your mission is greater than your mood, then even a prosperity doesn't show up, the perseverance will. Because your feet weren't planted in gain, they were planted in God. And the dangerous thing about prosperity is that it can deceive, it can distract, it can detour, it can look like favor, it can feel like winning when you're actually wandering. And that's why your purpose has to be rooted before your prosperity rises. Because if you rise too soon, you'll build your identity on things that shift. You'll attach your value to things that vanish, and the moment they fall, you fall. But when your purpose is planted in something eternal, in something that doesn't fade with seasons or crash with markets or change with opinions, then you can lose everything and still not be lost. Because purpose will wake you up in the morning when there's no paycheck attached. Purpose will keep you loving when you're not being loved back. Purpose will keep you standing when the storm keeps howling. And the reason some people burn out isn't because they didn't have vision. It's because they built their vision on vanity. And when the applause dried up, so did their fire. But when your fuel is purpose, not prosperity, when your motivation is mission, not money, then you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because your roots grow deeper. And I'm not saying prosperity is wrong. I'm not saying abundance is evil. I'm not saying sex should be avoided. Or I'm saying if you seek prosperity before you submit to purpose, you will gain the world and lose your way, you will chase shadows and miss substance. You will achieve everything and feel nothing because you were not made for temporary trophies. You were made to move something eternal, something sacred, something heavy with meaning, something so deep that when you walk in it, even your pain becomes power and your setbacks become strategy. So let the world run after riches, let them boast in their increase, let them build their kingdoms on numbers and noise. But as for you, let your soul be anchored in something higher, something deeper, something eternal, and don't be afraid to go slow, to go quiet, to go low. Because purpose often starts in obscurity, grows in silence, and matures through obedience. And when you chase purpose first, prosperity will find you in time. But if you chase prosperity first, purpose may never catch up. And your life will become busy but not blissful but not fulfilled, in but not sent. Purpose is the compass, prosperity is the fruit. And fruit without root will rot. So plant yourself not in popularity but in presence, not in fame but in faithfulness, not in income but in impact. Because when your life is guided by purpose, prosperity doesn't control you, it serves you. It doesn't seduce you, it follows you. And you no longer measure success by what you collect, but by what you contribute. By the lives you touch, the truth you live, the legacy you leave. So choose the narrow road, the deep work, the slow build, the quiet obedience. Because one day the stage will come, the doors will open, the harvest will rise, but when it does, you'll be ready. Not because you chase the shine, but because you carry the weight, not because you sought greatness, but because you walked in grace. And when prosperity meets a life grounded in purpose, it no longer becomes a distraction, it becomes a weapon for good, a tool for the kingdom, and a testament to a life not lived for gain but for glory. There is a rhythm to success that many misunderstand, a secret that the world does not teach, and it is this: you do not get to shine before you serve, you do not claim the light before you carry the load. You do not wear the crown before you sweat in the trenches. Because greatness is not about grabbing the spotlight, but about stepping into the shadows and doing the work no one else wants to do, serving when it's inconvenient, giving when you'd rather receive, loving when it's hard. And it is in that unseen, uncelebrated service that true leaders are made, that true character is built, that true power is formed. And if you want to shine, you must first be willing to serve, because serving first means putting others' needs before your own. It means bending when the world demands standing. It means sacrificing comfort for calling. It means humbling yourself to lift someone else. And though the world measures success by what you… the kingdom measures it by what you give. And the strange, beautiful paradox is that the more you serve, the more you will shine. But that shine never comes from selfish ambition. It comes from a heart set on purpose, from hands willing to labor, from a spirit surrender to something greater than itself. And the problem with chasing the spotlight first is that it leaves you shallow. It makes you fragile, it teaches you to depend on applause and affirmation. It conditions you to quit when no one's watching. But when you serve first, you develop a strength that no crowd can give or take away. You build a resilience forged in humility and hard work, and you learn that the light that lasts is not the one that dazzles for a moment, but the one that burns steady through storms and silence. Serving first means learning to wait, learning to grow in the quiet seasons, learning to be faithful in small things. Because every leader, every hero, every change maker, whoever left a mark, started not with the spotlight but with a willingness to serve, to be last, to lay down their rights for the good of others. And though that path may be lonely, it is also holy, for it teaches you that true greatness is measured not by how many see you, but by how many you lift, not by how high you climb, but by how many you carry with you. And serving first will challenge your pride, it will test your patience, it will stretch your soul beyond what you thought possible. But it will also transform your character, refine your motives, align your heart with the divine. And if you can endure the hard work of serving without immediate reward, without recognition, without applause, you are being prepared for a glory that is eternal, a shine that cannot be dimmed by circumstance, a light that comes from a life laid down for others. Because when you serve first, you learn the value of every role. You understand that no task is too small when it is done with love. You discover that leadership is not about status, but about sacrifice. You realize that the greatest among you are those who choose to be servants. And that kind of humility is not weakness, but the deepest kind of strength, the foundation of influence and the path to lasting impact. So do not chase the shine before you serve, do not seek fame before you serve, do not expect honor before you humble yourself. For the world will tempt you to shortcut the process, to skip the hard part, to grab the glory before the grind, but those who take the long way, who serve quietly, who love fiercely, who labor faithfully will one day stand in a light that no one can steal, in a place that no one can move, and their lives will be a testimony to the truth that serving first is the surest way to shine forever. And if you are weary, if you feel invisible, if you wonder if your service matters, know this, you are building something greater than applause. You are planting seeds that will one day bloom into legacy. You are walking the path of the greats who came before you. And though the shine may seem far off, it is coming, it is inevitable, because the one who sees every act of service rewards with a light that never fades, and when that day comes, you will shine not for yourself, but for all you have served along the way.